when I go out and get beer now, it's getting kind of complicated. I walk into one of these big cavernous stores to get a Budweiser. But it's getting a little bit more complicated, as I said, and I want to talk to an expert. So we brought in Daniel DiClerico. He's the senior editor for Consumer Reports. He's going to talk to us about beer. Daniel, thanks for coming in today.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Daniel, talk to me about the report you just put out. You did an examination of what the best beer is. I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to go for the money shot yet. I don't want to know what that is. But tell me the thesis behind this report.
Yeah, the market, as you say, the market's gotten a lot more complicated. It's almost like buying wine these days with the the variety and the different price points. So we wanted to focus on craft beers.
Explain to me what that is.
So a craft beer, it's a little bit of a slippery definition, but technically speaking, a craft beer comes from a craft brewer, which is a smaller, often regional brewer, who's producing no more than 6 million barrels per year.
So we're not talking about Heineken and Budweiser matching those guys up. We're talking about the small guys.
This is small guys, but that's where it gets interesting. Some of these bigger brewers, including Anheuser-Busch, have come out with a craft beer. So for the purpose of this article, we looked at any beers that were marketed as craft beers, because that's what the consumer's going to see when they go out to the store.
All right, I'm going to go for the money shot right now. What's the best beer that you came across?
So we looked at 23 separate craft beers. A few rose to the top, but probably the best of all is Stone IPA.
Where does that come
from Stone Brewers out in California. So it's an IPA, stands for India Pale Ale. Back in the day, in order for ales to survive the journey from Britain to India, they had to have a very high alcohol content.
How high?
Up above 7%, which is what we see in the Stone IPA.
Okay, that's high, but from what I understand, and I've talked to some experts right here at Newsmax that seem to know this subject very well. We go even higher than that. They're talking about some things like 11, 12, even 13%.
Another winner in our test is the Dogfish Head IPA. This is brewed down in Delaware. Actually, a former bartender from New York City started this brewery a few years back. Very popular. So Dogfish has a 120-minute IPA, which that's basically telling you how long it cooks for.
That's what IPA stands for? Yeah, I don't understand that.
So IPA, India Pale Ale. So I was starting to say to make the journey had to have the high alcohol content to survive from Britain to India. So that's where the name India Pale Ale comes from. But this Dogfish has the 120-minute IPA has an alcohol content of 18%, so that's way above a lot of wines.
18%.
Yeah, so you really do need to be careful with some of these beers. If you're used to throwing a few Bud Lights back, you don't want to do the same thing with a lot of these craft beers.
All right. Now, when I walk into restaurants now, and a lot of restaurants, at least I live in Connecticut, and I've noticed that throughout Connecticut, I see these high-end restaurants, and I walk in and I see the big beer manufacturing stuff. Are these guys part of this equation here, or are they're really small?
Sure. No, I mean, a lot of high-end restaurants have certainly embraced the craft beer movement, and we do see some that are brewing their own. We weren't able to test any of those for this report, but the market really is splintering in very interesting and compelling ways for the beer enthusiast.
You said that Budweiser. You said Budweiser has one of these craft beers.
Anheuser-Busch, which makes Budweiser. Yeah.
I'm a financial guy, so the first thing I'm thinking here is somebody's going to get taken over. Why don't they just go out and buy some of these guys?
Yeah. Well, there is a real sort of purist tradition here. So I think we talked about Dogfish, for example, which is down in Delaware. They are very clear about the rules. In fact, they don't ship to some states because of the rules prevent them from maintaining their craft beer status if they get too big. So I think that answers the question. A lot of them aren't interested in getting bigger. It's a real love of the beer, and they really that's the model for success for these guys. So there are certainly exceptions, and we may see some consolidation in this market as the.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier. You talked about, it's getting like the wine industry. And one of the things you put in your report, and I found it staggering because I don't think about this. When I go out to dinner and I'm hoisting a few and I'm having a sandwich or something, I'm not thinking about matching beer with food. And you talk about this in the report. Is this getting like the wine thing where you're an expert in wine, and you know what wine goes with what fish and what
Sure.
slab of meat.
No, absolutely. It's a little bit simpler, but here's the rule.
Give me some rules.
Yeah, fatty foods. That's the best pairing. So a craft beer is perfect for a burger.
So I'm going to choose a craft beer over, say, a Budweiser.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why?
Well, the bitterness, which is one of the things that makes craft beers what they are and what people look for, but it can it can be a little bit much. Fatty foods are going to temper the bitterness, and they're really going to complement each other very nicely. The other similarity with these craft beers to wine is you really got to pour it into a glass, and not everybody knows that. A lot of the taste comes through in the aroma. So if you're drinking from the bottle,
why can't I have it, just slug in the bottle?
Well, you're not going to get the full experience, the complexity.
I'll get the full experience. Trust me, I'm going to get the full experience.
Well, yeah, especially if you go for one of those 18%.
18% beer. I don't care if it's in a glass or a bottle of wine. Oh, that's fascinating. Well, where can I go to buy this stuff? Can I go to the grocery store, or do I have to order directly from, I'm not going to go to Idaho or California.
Right. No, more and more supermarkets are carrying, a variety of craft beers. But some of them are regional, and they're going to stay that way. So for the Stone IPA, you're going to have a lot easier time.
So how do I get Stone? Can I order? I mean, can I go to Whole Foods and get it?
I don't know about Whole Foods. Go to their website.
I got to order my beer now over the website.
Well, I was going to say they'll direct you to hopefully to some local retailers that carry it, but it's certainly not as easy as going out for a six-pack.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there. I got to tell you, if I can't get it right away, I can't walk into a deli and get it. I'm not sure I'm going to buy that. It's a fun segment. Thank you so much for being with us, Dan.
Great to be here.
All right, beer. I love it. I got to have it. I'm going to have it all the time. We've been talking with Daniel DiClerico, Senior Editor for Consumer Reports. You're listening to the Steve Mull